And you're live.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the regular meeting of council for, what is the date today? August 20, what is the date? August 24th. So I'd like to call this meeting to order. You have before you a copy of tonight's agenda. And I am looking for a motion to adopt the agenda as presented. Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor Chambers. All in favor? Thank you. Motion carries. Item number 3 is any declarations of interest tonight? None being noted, we'll move on to item number 4, which is announcements, awards, ceremonies, and presentations. Do I have anything from council? Nothing noted. Administration?
Nothing from administration, Your Worship.
Thank you. Item number 5 is the minutes from our regular meeting of council for June 29th, 2021. Looking for a motion. Councillor Chambers, go ahead.
Thank you, Worship. I move that the Council of the Town of Hay River accept the minutes from the regular meeting of council held on June 29th as presented.
Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Doi. Any questions to the motion? All in favor? Thank you. Motion carries. Item number 6 is administrative inquiries, and I'll pass it over to SAO Smith.
Thank you, Worship. We will start our update with the Director of Protective Services, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. Currently, this month, as of August 24th, the department has responded to 44 ambulance calls and 1 false alarm for the fire department. My updates are we have received a contribution agreement from ENR for $45,000 to carry out the proposed Fire Smart project. That is the widening of the fire line. ENR also took a tour of the other 3 projects that we proposed to them, and I'll be discussing with them soon the potential for future Fire Smart projects in those identified areas. I'll be reaching out to the other departments this week to gather PPE requests that we will submit to procurement with the GNWT. Nobody is currently experienced PPE shortages, but we just want to make sure that we're prepared moving forward. I finished up the draft apparatus driving competency procedure. It's a bit of a mouthful, but it's been reviewed by the officers, and we're looking at rolling that out in the next couple of months as part of our regular training schedule. After I make a few minor changes, department training on August 13th through 15th, the department hosted the 1001 professional firefighting phase 2 testing. There was about 20 students made up from Fort Smith, Inuvik, and Hay River. All the HRFD members successfully passed their practical testing, so that's great news. August 19th, we had an officers meeting to set the training schedule for the next few months, so we'll be going right to the end of October with our current plan, and that also means the remaining part of the 1001 program, the 472 hazmat operations, has been scheduled for October 15th through 17th, and that'll be the last test for our students for the 1001 program. And that's
Thank you
for updates right now.
Thank you, Director, and congratulations. I hear you're a dad. That's very exciting.
Yes, thank you.
Any questions for our Director of Protective Services? None being noted. Back to SAO Smith.
Thank you, Worship. We'll go next to the Director of Finance and Administration.
Good evening. Thank you, Your Worship. A few modest updates this evening from Finance. The Finance Committee will be meeting next week to review the Q2 O&M and capital. This is going to be brought forward to the Council at the following meeting. There's several other agenda items, one of which is a review of the proposed agreement to provide multi-year funding to the library. Along that vein, the town is now accepting applications for the community enhancement grant. Information has been posted on our social media and will be available through the town's website. The application period closes on September 17th. Lastly, we'd like to remind our utility customers that starting on the September bill, customers who receive paper copies of their bills will be charged an additional $2.50 per month in accordance with our recent fees and charges revision. There's no charge for receiving statements electronically, and we encourage all customers that have not already done so to contact the town and provide us with an email address if they'd like to sign up and avoid that paper bill charge. That concludes my updates. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for our Director of Finance? None being noted, back to SAO Smith.
Thank you, Worship. Up next, the Director of Recreation and Community Services.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and good evening, everyone. Few operational updates this evening. First, I'd just like to provide some stats for the programming that is still ongoing. So we do continue to have some of our aquatic staff at the public beach. Swimmer numbers have been very good. Well, swimmer numbers, I should say, individuals attending the public beach, the numbers have been good. We've been seeing 800 to 850 individuals at the beach per month. So we're seeing that that's a valuable service that's being provided there by the town in partnership with GNOVTITI. And those services are wrapping up this week. But we do feel that numbers were good, especially when the weather was a bit warmer. Summer heat registrations remained high through August. Attendance was a little bit lower once I think there were families that were planning vacations south once restrictions lowered on travel. But registrations remained high, and we did continue to see good numbers, though we weren't seeing the full capacity that we were seeing in July. We are in a bit of a shoulder season, as much as we don't like to admit that summer's coming to an end. We're in a bit of a shoulder season in which we're wrapping up some of the summer activities and closing up some of our summer facilities and preparing for the fall and winter activities. Bit of a summary on that is that local softball leagues have all ended their seasons as of this weekend. The mixed slow pitch league had their playoffs ended on this weekend. Summer heat, as I mentioned, and the beach attendant program are wrapping up this Friday, and there'll be a transition to the fall and winter programming for both of those groups. Our pool remains closed, and we are continuing with the annual shutdown and the maintenance that goes along with that. All the major maintenance work and repairs have been completed at this point. We're transitioning back to cleaning and getting ready to fill the pool so that it's ready for some staff training that we have scheduled for September 4th and an early September targeted date to reopen for the public. That date to reopen to the public is not specifically confirmed yet, but we're looking at shortly, either during Labor Day weekend or shortly afterwards. We've communicated publicly that we'll be hosting a Make the Connection evening on September 11th. That's tentatively scheduled for the curling club on the evening of September 11th at this point. Port landing season is nearing an end, and we will be communicating soon that seasonal slip owners will need to have their vessels out in the few days after September 15th, which is the official end of the season there. Fisherman's Wharf Pavilion is expected to remain open through September, though we are transitioning to the winter setup at that location. Maintenance staff will likely be putting up the walls in September, and that might be of some benefit to the Saturday morning market, which, as I said, is expected to continue through the end of September. skating arena, we do have a tentative start date of October 4th. Skating arena to be ready. Confirmation from Simcoe Refrigeration that they can come up and do our annual startup of our ice plant on the requested dates. I've been in communication with our regular ice user groups, received most ice schedule requests, and I have a tentative ice schedule. And I've also been in communication, or I've sent communication to the Hay River Curling Club representative to confirm their plans as to when they will put their ice in. A few staffing updates. We've had summer students, our summer student workforce has been reduced week by week with students returning to post-secondary education or other options. We only have a few summer students still working for us. So we are a little short-staffed at this point. Aquatic staff were also impacted by students going to post-secondary. So there's a bit of a recruitment and some training ongoing for our aquatic staff. We are currently in a good position with casual lifeguards and junior lifeguards. There most likely will be a bit of impact to the pool schedule in September, to the hours that we had before the closure, and the training that we are doing in the next few weeks here. We've got some bronze medallion training and also some national lifeguard training scheduled through September. And that should have us nearly at a full roster for the aquatic staff. The one concern that we have is that we don't have a full-time permanent senior lifeguard, or we have one vacant position for a full-time senior lifeguard. We continue to recruit. We have 3 candidates at this point, and we're in communication with them. We do hope to have somebody in that position as soon as possible. And that would have us at a full roster as we had before the shutdown and as we had since we reopened post-COVID closures there. We also did interviews for our customer service clerk full-time permanent position last week, and we hope to extend a job offer by the end of this week. Some more updates on ongoing projects. So we did take advantage of a bit of the shoulder season we're in right now to install the fitness equipment that was purchased via MACA Sport and Rec funding that was purchased in 2020. That room has been installed in the multipurpose room. Multipurpose room now has more of a specialization for group fitness classes, as was mentioned to council before and brought to the Recreation Committee. Next week will be a bit of a trial period, and where a rec programmer will be offering some classes to the public and have a bit of an open house for the public to be able to come see the setup that we have up there. And we will be taking registrations for the group fitness classes that will begin during the first week of September. Last update is that we did receive confirmation of CPRA youth employment funding in the amount of $14,000. That funding is for the employment of post-secondary students. It's a bit of a job creation fund, and that funding is aimed at our after-school program, which we had previously acquired some funding, but this allows us to increase our registrations because we'll be able to hire a bit more staff, and we'll basically be able to double the number of kids that can participate in that after-school programming. Not much of an increase in the programming compared to last year, but it does confirm that we can continue with that programming with similar numbers to last year. Those are my updates at this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Director. Just a big shout out to your staff on the parks program and the youth sports camps. Well received by the kids in the community, that's for sure, the feedback that I'm getting, but also the parents. So it's great to keep them busy and active, and thank them for that on our behalf. Any questions for our Director of Recreation? None being noted. SEO Smith.
Thank you, Worship. I did notice Councillor Groenewegen did raise his hand there.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Councillor Groenewegen.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just one question for Director of Recreation. I guess the trial week, I guess to check out the new programs that possibly are going to be offered, will they be advertised on Facebook or on the town site?
Director of Recreation.
Yeah, thank you. I do believe there's been one posting so far, but I think we're going to ramp up those advertisements and even show pictures of the room so that we increase that public knowledge, and we will likely pin that the poster to the top of our Town of Hay River Recreation page there.
Thank
Great,
you.
thank you.
Any further questions from council? SAO Smith.
Thank you, Worship. The Director of Public Works and Services, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. On the public works side of things, still working on a lot of drainage work. We've been doing some coordinated work out on Vale Island in the West Channel area, clearing some ditches and culverts out there. Hoping to get some flow from some of the properties that are low and are still experiencing a lot of standing water out there. Some work also planned out on Vale Island in the Lakeshore Drive area this week to just get some more material down there, try and raise the road level a little bit to again deal with the standing water and flooding that they are experiencing there. There's a number of other locations in town that we are aware of. We're putting together planning and pricing out our options to try and deal with all of the high water, the standing water, and the flooding that has been the reality this summer. Other water information, you may have noticed that our water quality was down a little bit towards the end of last week. Some high winds out of the north were raising the turbidity and color in our water. We remained underneath any of the guidelines that we needed to meet, any water quality guidelines, and it has improved this week with some calmer weather and not as windy out there. So it's looking a lot better this week than it was Friday and Saturday the past week. We have a break on Stewart Drive. We will be digging down and repairing that this Thursday. That'll likely result in just a small section of that road being closed, but we will get notice out on Facebook and on our website just to the public of when it will be closed and what section of the road. On the capital projects that we're working on, Caribou Crescent, the asphalt paving for that has been pushed back just slightly. It's scheduled to start now the first week of September. And then that's nearing the end of the Caribou portion of that project. Riverview and Beaver, we got the letter out to residents today, the one that we had previously discussed at council, just updating them on further information on the ditching and culvert and drain situation there. I also had a walkthrough of Riverview today with our engineering consultant. We looked at some of those areas that have been raised as concerns. We're working to minimize the depth of any ditching there, raise culverts as high as we can, while still getting the needed cover to the driveways. Just to reiterate, what it looks like out there now is by no means the final product. Things are any ditching that's there now is likely gonna be a lot shallower in the end. But otherwise on that project, work seems to be progressing well. They're making their way with the in-ground water and sewer infrastructure, heading north along Riverview. They've passed Gates now and are getting close to Beaver, and they should be working in Beaver coming up pretty quickly here. On the new lift station project, I'm still working on pouring some concrete there and getting things finished basically up to ground level. Project is slightly delayed from the original anticipated substantial completion date, but it's still still on schedule to be completed well in advance of the fish plant opening and of our spring melt, which are the two kind of pressure points for having that lift station online. So it should be online in the spring before those events when we need it. Our RFP for water delivery is currently out for competition, so that's open, and we are working on preparing the RFP and information for the waste management, waste collection contract that will go out following the once we're through with the truck water one and can put the next one out. Those are my updates for this week.
Thank you, Director. Any questions for our Director of Public Works? Councillor Anderson, go ahead.
Thank you, Worship. Just a question on Riverview and the location of the fire hydrants. There was concern raised about where the fire hydrants are being located. Has that been addressed, or what's the status on that, please? Thank you.
Director of Public Works.
Thank you, Your Worship. We have confirmed that the, I believe there's one fire hydrant in question, but that it is in the location that it was designed to go in. There seems to be just some issues with property line versus fence line there. We are looking at options though to potentially move that. We're working with our consultant and with the contractor on the project. So nothing's been finalized yet on it, but we are working through options to address the concerns that have been raised with that fire hydrant.
Thank you. Any further questions for our Director? None being noted. Back to SAO Smith.
Thank you, Worship. I will run through several items here today. Wanted to start off with COVID. Certainly been busy, especially today, but the last few days, just around internal discussions, some external as well, media communications, etc. Public Health has sent out a notice this afternoon around the one case in Hay River and an exposure listing for that case. So we do encourage the public to make note of those warnings and follow the direction of the Office of the Chief Public Health Officer, and note that those will probably evolve as they work through that case. We have had some check-ins with MACA as well on community surge planning associated with COVID. This is a process that's been ongoing through the pandemic, and they're checking in now given the outbreak that's going on. So we're reviewing our internal PPE needs. We have some discussions with local grocers, pharmacists, transportation companies, etc., to help support that and understand where they are at as community needs may grow. Did have an impromptu meeting with the GNWT today for which turned into an update on our environmental site assessment planning for 4 properties that were transferred back to the town through the NTCL acquisition by the GNWT. So they confirmed that they are going through a procurement procedure right now for the phase 1 and phase 2 ESAs to have those completed this year. So that's good news for us. And we will likely be contacting, there's several boat owners on those properties that do not have lease agreements with the town, and we'll be giving them notice that those may need to be moved. Likely will need to be moved as part of the phase 2 drilling activities that will be completed. We have requested a meeting between the council, or actually a subcommittee of council, the franchise subcommittee, with the Premier and various ministers to discuss sort of the opportunities that exist through the remaining steps of the franchise agreement with NTPC. Also continue to have, we actually have a meeting this week with NTPC, just a regular update meeting on where they sit with some of our or where we sit with some of the work on the arbitration, the purchase sale agreement, and other transactions tied to that purchase and pending transition. Council and some council administration has a meeting tomorrow with West Point First Nations to discuss the 3 parks projects that were that have been conditionally approved through the ISIP Community Culture and Recreation Funding. There's a good governance requirement there to consult with our Indigenous groups, so we have sent out letters, and this is the one request that we did receive. So we'll work through that and hopefully proceed with the findings there and receive funding for those projects. A note that was passed on from the Northern Transportation Route remediation, the organization coordinating that work. There was a rollover of a vehicle within the municipal boundaries last week, I guess it was now. They were transporting what they consider marginally contaminated soil. They did provide notice that no immediate or long-term risk is made to the community in terms of the people and the environment, and that a cleanup is occurring and investigation is ongoing. We continue to work on our new landfill funding. Had calls with MACA today and Department of Lands previously, and MACA as well more recently prior to today's meeting to discuss a reapplication for funding. I think we've got a path forward with that one, and we'll be working towards an October submission after the federal election. We have been sharing communication. There has been several bear sightings and concerns on bear safety within the community. We have shared ENR's messaging. They are managing that situation with the support of public notices. But we also did send out reminders to the public about storing garbage in the garage or inside ahead of scheduled garbage pickup, which is twice a week. Also, we've been sending out bear safety reminders to our staff, especially our recreation crew that does work in the trail systems. We've happy to announce that we've completed a project that's been ongoing for a while now. Internally here, it's our migration of our electronic documents to our cloud services. So this was packaged with some cost reduction commitments for our IT services, and which sees a reduction of our capital or physical capital and on-premise computing needs there. It also has improvements to disaster recovery and business continuity benefits and risk reductions, as well as productivity gains for our staff. And also of note, probably better positions us for any ATIP regulations that may eventually come our way, as we've been given notice that the ATIP Act updates or amendments will have an impact to the municipalities. On the HR side, just a few things. The Director of Recreation pointed out a couple of recruitment activities occurring in his area, but I also wanted to note that we have made an offer and it's been accepted for our HR manager. So this person will be moving to Hay River from Whitehorse and starting with us on September 20th. So we welcome him to the organization and the community. Our water sewer maintainer position, the competition's closed for that. We've got several applicants that we will be working through to schedule interviews. And as well, protective service specialists, we are reviewing the job description and plan to start recruitment of that soon. Our summer students, a lot of them are wrapping up activities now as we get to the end of summer and post-secondary school resuming, or secondary school resuming. Those 17 students, majority of them are now at near completion this week. And I just wanted to thank them. They provide a very important role to us over the summer. It's a major staff contribution or labor contribution to the organization. And yeah, we wish them good luck at their school, and hope to see some of them next year. We also had a staff appreciation barbecue last week. Some members of council attended that. It was well attended by staff. Just a quick barbecue over lunch and to give thanks to some of the work that they've been doing over the summer and year. And I think that concludes my update. I did note that I did miss one announcement that the Ice Agers were this year's 2021 Hay River Slow Pitch League champions. Members of that team include myself, Mayor Jameson, and our Director of Recreation. And good luck, better luck next year to the third place Ashton's team, which consists of Councillor Chambers and our Director of Public Works and Services.
Thank you. Any questions for our SAO? Oh, Deputy Mayor, go ahead.
Yeah, I just had a question. I know we're down to some of the last meetings here for council, so I'm just looking at that transition document or transition period where I think we're down to the last couple of meetings here. So is there some discussions on how we prepare for that next term and put some of those, I know we have our strategic plan and stuff like that in place, but yeah, just wondering about that transition period.
SAO Smith.
Thank you, Worship. Yeah, I could probably speak to a couple items there. I think it's certainly top of mind and on the agenda today is the appointment of the returning officer. So that will help facilitate the process for elections, including information we'll share with this council for any re-election. Applies to everybody, but some of the things we have been thinking about, especially related to budget, or what that schedule might look like. So that budget schedule will be discussed and at the Finance Committee meeting that's happening on Monday. Certainly we'll be sharing that with the council. We're also working on an update to our 10-year capital plan that we would has been brought forward earlier in the year, but we want to circle that back with this council to ensure that provide updates, including where we were funding with several changes to some of the projects that we've applied for funding to, major projects. So I want to make sure that council has their opportunity to provide an update there. More work is probably needed on some of the transition, including the orientation programs and what the meetings will look like, decision making up to the election period. So I think it's a conversation. Some of that we'll coordinate with the mayor, and so that we can have more discussion with council on what that looks like.
Thank you. Any other questions for our SAO? None being noted, we'll move on to item number 7A, which is for information purposes only, and it is our monthly report for July from our local RCMP detachment. Any comments or questions regarding the document? Okay, none being noted, we'll move on to item number 8A, Emergency Services Monthly Report for July 2021. Deputy Mayor.
Yeah, I'm looking for a seconder, I guess.
It's Councillor Dowie, I think.
Okay, moved by myself, second by Councillor Dowie, that Council of Town of Hay River approves the Emergency Services Activity Report for July 2021 as presented.
Thank you. Any questions to the motion? None being noted, all in favor? Thank you. Motion carries. Item 8B, Public Works Monthly Report for July 2021. Councillor Grunewagen.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Moved by myself and seconded by Deputy Mayor Bouchard. The Council of Town of Hay River accepts the Public Works Monthly Report for July 2021.
Thank you. Any questions? All in favor? Thank you. Motion carries. Item number 8C is an excused absence. Councillor Dowie, go ahead.
Thank you, Worship. Moved by myself and seconded by Deputy Mayor Bouchard that the Council of the Town of Hay River excuses Councillor Anderson and Chambers from the regular meeting of Council Tuesday, August 10th, 2021.
Thank you. Any questions? You have a question, Counselor Dowie? Go ahead.
Not so much a question, but should probably include Counselor Willows in that as well. I believe.
That's item,
When we-
yeah, I did the same thing. Item 9B is an excused absence for this meeting. Counselor Willows wasn't there on the 10th?
No,
Oh,
it just, we added it to the motion on the 10th, and then it's just not in the record. It's just not
it
in.
looks like it's missed. Okay, enough, yeah. So do you want to change that then?
Yeah, just to amend that to add Counselor Willows as well.
Okay, and Counselor Grunewagen is fine with that. Thank you. Okay. So all in favor? Thank you. Motion carries. Item 8D, appointment of the returning officer, Deputy Mayor.
Yes, thank you, Worship. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Grunewagen, that the Council of Town of Haver appoints Heather Coco as the returning officer for 2021 municipal election for the town of Hay River.
Thank you. Any questions to the motion? All in favor? Oh, go ahead, Deputy Mayor.
Just maybe, I'm not sure if we need to note that, but the date is held, or October 18th. I'm not sure if that needs to be in the motion or not. But anyway.
Question. SAO Smith, does the date of the election have to be in the motion?
I don't know that it does. Stacy, is this a recycle of what was used in prior election?
That's correct. It's in the background right there, but it is the same report that we brought to council in the past. We have not put the date in the actual motion, just for the 2021 municipal election.
Fair enough. It does say 2021 on it, so it should be fine. Okay, all in favor? Thanks, guys. Motion carries. Moving on to item number 9, which is new business, and 9A is community plan bylaw update for Vale Island rezoning. Looking for a motion. Go ahead, Councillor Dowie.
Thank you, Worship. I'll move the recommendation that the Council of Town of Hay River accepts the information report on the amendment to bylaw 1811-18A, Hay River Community Plan.
Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Chambers. Any questions to the motion? All in favor? Thank you. Motion carries. Item 9B, excused absence, and we need to add Councillor Dufert to this excused absence. Looking for a motion. Thank you. Councillor Dowie, go ahead.
Thank you, Worship. I'll move the recommendation that the Council of Town of Hay River excuses Councillor Willows and Councillor Duford from the regular meeting of council Tuesday, August 4th. What?
No, sorry. We need to add one. Sorry. That would be item 9D. Excused absence for Councillor Duford for today, August 20.
Tuesday, August 24th. It's just, there's just a typo in there.
Okay, perfect. Okay. Any questions to the motion? All in favor? Thank you. Motion carries. Item number 9C, face mask policy reinstatement discussion. I asked for it on there considering what's happening all around, but I do know that in the past we have followed the guidelines of what the Chief Public Health Office is telling us, and I believe, but I thought that I would give council an opportunity to discuss where we're at and how you would like to proceed. So with that, I'm going to open the floor for discussion. Councillor Dowie, go ahead.
Thank you, Worship. As of right now, I'm fine with just continuing on down that path of following the direction and guidelines of the Office of the Chief Public Health Officer.
Any other comments from council? Councillor Grunewagen, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm in agreement with Councillor Doey's comments. I know at this time, the government has mandated that masks be made in all public spaces for their buildings. So I know that there's a certain amount of coverage there, but I don't believe there's anything to do anything above and beyond that at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. Our Deputy Mayor, you had a comment?
Yeah, so we're going, right now the recommendation is to wear masks indoors. Is that for clarity?
SAO Smith?
Thanks, Your Worship. I guess the administration hasn't prepared a recommendation on this area, but I mean, a bit of background, I guess, to help is that, and I can share some opinions, but the so we did institute the town policy. It wasn't a bylaw, but a policy on December of 2020 that was applied to staff and contractors and the public in town public facilities, town-owned public facilities. We suspended that with the Emerging Wisely plan advancements that occurred more recently. Sorry, I can't remember the exact dates, but you know, as restrictions were lifted and you know, associated to really vaccination rate targets that were met, that were set in that plan. You know, the lifting was felt to be an appropriate action for the town to take at that time as well. Several businesses and other organizations throughout the north seem to do that. So so we've been operating with it suspended. You know, we hear that of the one case in Hay River, and public health is doing their work on managing that. There's outbreaks in the rest in other areas in Northwest Territories. I think they've probably moved towards mandatory masks in those communities, but public health seems to be, you know, managing it. I guess in from our thoughts on it, administration's had some discussion with their staff when we did lift the policy or suspended it. That was made in consultation with our Joint Occupational Health and Safety Committee to get input from all of our staff. But yeah, we're sort of in alignment with what Councillor Doey has said, that and Councillor Groenewegen, on really relying on the direction of public health, and to, you know, if there's a requirement there, that we would follow that. Yeah, kind of key to understand that trigger or set this so that we're not having discussions daily on this or week to week as situations change. I think it was understood when the restrictions were lifted, speaking a little bit from what might be the thoughts behind the Office of the Chief Public Health Officer, but really recognition that we will live with these situations of cases in our communities and occasional outbreaks and you know, up and down changes. We don't want to make anything that's not in alignment with what the experts at public health are announcing. It's the KFN announced today that they were declaring a state of emergency, and I think maybe putting restrictions that limited. Trying to think what they're limiting. I think they're along the lines of mandatory isolations until tested, something along those lines. So I don't know. Our recommendation is really just to follow direction that's put in place by the public health at this point, and we'll see where things evolve with the different government bodies. We are hearing about municipalities across Canada that are instituting vaccination requirements in provinces to for employees and to access into public facilities, but I think they're dealing with outbreaks that we're not dealing with in our community.
I think it's important as well to make sure that we inform the public as soon as we know and get the information out there as quickly as possible. As well, to remind people when you have traveled south that you need to really take it seriously to monitor whether you have had the vaccine or not, to really, you know, watch, and if you have symptoms, to stay home, get tested, etc. And we are trying to get that information as it comes to us out on our public Facebook page, our social media pages, and that kind of deal. So hopefully, you know, the public is well informed. We're hoping that people are well informed. If you think that you might have a symptom, you should be masking up, making sure. We should all be washing our hands let's be honest, and just being careful. And I think as we go into the fall, while people are inside and not able to remain those 6 feet apart, I think that you're going to see that things tighten up a little bit. And if it keeps going the way it is, I mean, I don't think that she's going to have an option but to tighten it up. But for now, I think that we leave things that's, you know, the way it is. We have always followed her direction in the past, and if she directs us to go to masking inside, then that is what we will do. Councillor Anderson, you had your hand up.
Hello, sorry. I think given the, can you hear me?
I sure can.
Okay. I think given the circumstances of where we're sitting right now, you know, we look back, you know, we've accomplished a lot over the past 18 months. And, you know, we're seeing evidence of situations arise around us at the Cantaladeche, on the Cantaladeche Reserve, as well as, you know, Fort Providence and the Satu and so forth. So it is there and that type of stuff. So, I mean, I would say that, you know, I would say that we would encourage people to wear masks, and particularly to protect our employees in the retail environment, and so forth, and in businesses. I mean, that's certainly I think an important thing to stress, and that type of stuff. I mean, we've done so much and we've accomplished so much that we don't want to give it away and go in the wrong direction here. And I look at what we've seen, the Satu and so forth, and evidence of that and that type of stuff, right? So I think we've really got a, you know, I'm leaning towards encouraging people to wear masks and that type of thing and getting that message out. But that's my point of view. And that type of stuff, given the fact that, you know, where we are right now is not what we were, you know, in the past 18 months. So anyway, that's my point of view and so forth. So I would definitely see us encouraging it, and given the protection of our staff and employees and our customers also. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Anderson. Any further comments from council? Deputy Mayor, go ahead.
Yeah, so just for clarity, like the town of Haverhill, we would be putting a mask policy back in is because the public health officer is saying that right now, right? And then we would be encouraging other businesses and other people to do the same. Is that basically what we're saying?
No, she hasn't mandated indoor mask wearing right at this point. What we're saying is that should she do it, we're giving direction for administration to put it back in. Right now, we want to get as much information out there. And I think that the public is very aware. There's a lot of discussion on what's going on in the Satu, and we know how it's going to come back. It's going to come back when people travel. That's exactly how we've had it in the past. So, you know, getting the information out there, keeping it at the forefront of people's minds to be careful, be vigilant, and remember that we're protecting our kids and those people who can't be vaccinated or have not had the opportunity, I guess. So that's where we're at right now. So, and I'm hoping, I think that's what I heard from Councillor Grunewagen, from Councillor Dowie. I haven't heard from Councillor Chambers yet, but yeah, Councillor Anderson's saying get the information out there, be ready, and as well, right? That we know that we're not going to avoid this. We knew when they opened the borders that this was coming at us. We also know that not everybody can be vaccinated, and that this variant is a little more dangerous than what we were looking at before. So we are hoping that people are very cautious when they have traveled and come back, that they do wear the mask if they can't be 6 feet apart and when they go into stores. Did that answer your question?
Well, I don't know, maybe I misread one of the, after the Satu last week, it was talking about masks indoors, so.
She's mandatory masking indoors in the Satu communities and has locked down 2 of them, yes.
I thought it was in the territory, but yeah, okay. As long as we're clear with that.
Okay, Councillor Grunewagen, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yeah, just for clarity on the latter part of my comment there, as it stands right now with the GNWT, they are requiring masks in open spaces in all of their buildings. So if you were to go into the jail, which most of you won't, the health center, any of the schools, you're going to be required to wear a mask. I think that really takes most gathering places down to being, businesses, which of course, those businesses have it at their discretion to enforce, rules around wearing masks. Simple as putting up a sign. And I think that we should leave it at their discretion at this time. Thank you.
Thank you for clarifying that. Any further comments from council? Okay, none being noted, we'll move on. Item number 10 is our bylaws. 10A is bylaw 1811-18A, Community Plan Amendment Bylaw, and we're looking for second reading. Looking for a motion from council. Councillor Dowie, go ahead.
Thank you, Worship. I'll move second reading of bylaw number 1811-11A.
Seconded by Councillor Grunehagen. Any questions to the motion? All in favor? Thank you. Motion carries. Item 10B is bylaw 2411, bylaw officer appointment, first and second reading. So Councillor Dowie, go ahead.
Thank you, Worship. I'll move first reading of bylaw number 2411 /PS/21.
Seconded by Councillor Grunehagen. Any questions to the motion? Councillor Dowie, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Worship. I just going back to the SAO's comments about reviewing this position. I'm assuming that either this is the shortest retirement ever, or this is meant to be a temporary measure.
For clarity, SAO Smith.
Thank you, Worship. Two things that we wanted to achieve through this bylaw update. First was to get our Director of Protective Services, Travis Wright, into the, as it's defined in the bylaw, the Chief Protective Service Specialist. The other was with the departure of our Travis Rosborough. We have been using some contracting services to fill the gaps, especially our our Director of Protective Services was away on some leave as well during that vacancy. So this just provides a short-term, a short time filling through a contract position until we can recruit. That position's doing right now just a daily check and on-call response.
Yes. Further to that, I see Ross going into the office every day and it just is business as usual. So do we have a seconder to the motion? Sorry, guys. Okay, Councillor Chambers, all in favor? Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, item number 11.
Do you want to do second reading, Your Worship?
Oh, sorry, second reading. Thank you. Councillor Dowie, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship. I'll move second reading of bylaw number 2411 /PS/21.
Councillor Chambers, you'll second that. Thank you. Any questions? All in favor? Thank you. Motion carries. Item number 11 is an in-camera session. Need a motion to go in camera. Councillor Grunehagen, seconded by Councillor Dowie. Before I take a vote, I'm going to ask you all to turn your mics on. And I'll start with Councillor Grunehagen. Do you solemnly swear and sincerely affirm that you are alone and cannot be overheard while in camera?
I swear.
Thank you. Councillor Dowie.
Thank you, Your Worship. I swear.
Deputy Mayor.
I swear.
Councillor Chambers.
I swear.
Thank you. Councillor Anderson.
I swear.
Perfect. Okay, so motion to go in camera. I have a motion, so all in favor? Perfect. Okay, how about like 3 minutes?